Let's do this Evan Mobley deep dive.
Yep.
I don't know why I was inspired to do this a couple of weeks ago. I spent way too much time on it. And I want to say before we get into anything, I want to make this crystal clear. If Evan Mobley never gets better than he is today, he's a 10 to 15 year solid, good NBA player. Evan Mobley is not bad. Evan Mobley is not a bust. If he never gets any better than he is today, Evan Mobley will make a lot of money and have a very successful NBA career. So let's get that on the record now. Evan Mobley, I'm not saying he sucks by any means. You guys can make your own determinations on what the findings of this study and case kind of come out to. But let me make it clear. Evan Mobley is a good NBA player, a valuable NBA player. And while he may not have made the giant leap in year 3 that we had hoped, he has made improvements to his game across the board. And if he never gets better, he could retire tomorrow as a good, established NBA player. Is that a good baseline to be at?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. That's fair.
Make sure we're clear on that. So here's what I did, guys. We've always talked about, is Evan Mobley a unicorn? Jason, you said when they first traded for Donovan Mitchell, Donovan's a great player, but if this team's going to win a championship, Evan has to be the best player on the team. He was the unicorn. He was the next guy. We asked when we first started the show, could he be the Cavs' Tim Duncan? Could he be the pillar of a championship franchise, a championship foundation in the NBA? So I went back, and you could have gone back further. I went back to the 2013 draft, 11 drafts, so there's 33 players in this study. I looked at the top 3 picks in every draft since 2013 and tried to figure out where they were after year 3 to see, okay, how many guys by year 3 were established stars? How many guys by year 3 were complete flameouts? How many guys did we not have an answer on yet? And of the guys we weren't sure yet, how many have developed into what? So I broke this down into a bunch of categories. We're going to run through them draft by draft and then category by category. But just to give everyone a refresher, here are the top 3 picks every year dating back to 2013. In 2013,
oh yes,
Victor Oladipo, Otto Porter Jr. draft. By year 3, Bennett was out of the league, essentially a complete bust. Oladipo by year 3, a lot of question marks. Otto Porter Jr. by year 3, not living up to a top 3 draft pick potential. 2014 draft, Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Joel Embiid. 2015 draft, you had Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Jahlil Okafor. 2016, Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, and Jaylen Brown. 2017, you had Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, and Jason Tatum. 2018, DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley Jr., and Luka Doncic. 2019, Zion, Ja, and RJ Barrett. 2020, the COVID draft, you had Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball. 2021, the Evan Mobley draft, Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green, also in the top 3 of that class. 2022, you had Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, and Jabari Smith Jr. And this most recent draft, you had Victor Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, and Scoot Henderson. So those are the 33 players that I'm going to use for this study. Going back to the 2013 draft, I broke these guys into different categories. Jason, at any point you have any questions, let me know. I have some answers on some of the guys' stats at year 3, why I put them in different categories.
Okay.
Those are the 33 players we are using to put into these different categories. Top 3 picks dating back to 2013. So of those 33, I thought there were 3 that were immediate stars. As soon as they touched the court, you knew that guy could be the guy we build the franchise around. And now before I tell you who those are, mind you, this is all after year 3. You're going to have different opinions on some of these guys as time has unfolded and their stories have been written. But this is as of year 3, or in Victor Wembanyama's case, as of 6 months into his NBA career. The 3 guys I thought immediate stars as soon as they stepped on the court were Wemby, Zion, and Luka. Luka was averaging 25, 7, and 7 as a rookie. Wemby's doing things we've never seen before. And Zion, despite getting hurt his rookie season, was averaging 23, 7, and 4, and looked every part of the player he was advertised to be coming out of Duke. Do you have any issue with that, Jason?
No.
Okay. So now we go to by year 3. Those guys stepped in immediate stars. These are guys by year 3. So at the conclusion of their 3rd season, we knew that's a dude. That is a legitimate guy. And I got 9 of these guys. Embiid, who didn't play his first 2 seasons, made all NBA second team in his rookie year, which was year 3. Ben Simmons, who's fallen off a cliff now, but at the end of year 3, had made an all NBA team, an all defensive team, and 2 all-star games. Karl Anthony Towns was a 24-point scorer. Jason Tatum, John Morant was averaging 28 and 7 at the conclusion of his 3rd season. Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball. You may say he's not a star. I tend to agree, but at least you know you have something there. Paolo Banchero is already an all-star in his second year. And if you want to say Chet Holmgren's too high, sure, but he's fallen into the big three in OKC, overcoming a lot of guys who had more established there. And if you watch how they run their offense, I think his ceiling and potential is through the roof. If you want to say Holmgren's a little too high, probably won't argue with it. Maybe I'm a little too high on Holmgren. But those are the guys by year 3. And in Banchero and Holmgren's instance, year 2, who I think could already be in that star category. LaMelo, I'm not buying a stock in him and building a franchise around him, but he's certainly not just a guy. Fair?
Yeah, if Holmgren's too high, he's not going to be next year if he keeps progressing at this. He's certainly on that path. So I won't dispute anyone on that list either. I think you're in good shape.
Okay. So now we get to the next group. And there's a lot of names in this list. I labeled this good player by year 3, but is this it? Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Victor Oladipo, Brandon Ingram, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Jabari Smith Jr., Cade Cunningham, RJ Barrett, Lonzo Ball, and Brandon Miller. 11 guys. And here's how I think those guys who we had question marks after year 3 have developed since then. So this is using a little hindsight. After year 3, those guys, I don't think you can make a definitive decision if they're great, if they're bad. We know they're good, but what's their ceiling? Well, of those guys, here are the guys I think turned into legitimate tier 1, top 10 in the NBA guys, Jason. That's it. Nobody. Doesn't exist. So no one who we had questions after year 3, in my opinion, have developed into a guy that you could build a franchise around. You may disagree. We'll keep going through these. But I don't think any of the guys that we weren't sure about after 3 years has turned into the guy that we felt confident in. The next one, good players, very good players, but not a number 1. You had Jaylen Brown, who's obviously the highest paid player in basketball now, a multiple-time All-Star. But at best, he's a third-team All-NBA guy. You can't build a team around Jaylen Brown. He's a great 2. Same thing with Brandon Ingram. Good player. You want Brandon Ingram, but I don't think he could be the centerpiece of your team. And if you want to say Victor Oladipo wasn't ever very good, he made an All-NBA team. He had that one great year after a couple changes. He doesn't really fit into any other categories. He's fallen off a short shooting star level stint, Jason. But those are the only 3 guys who I think legitimately turned into a real building block out of that group.
I think Brown, I'm higher on Brown than you are, I think.
Okay.
And I wonder if you got him away from Tatum, if he would be more of a clear number 1. I don't know. I can't quibble too much with where you're at. I really like what you've done with this whole study. But I think Brown could be that guy. I go back to like when James Harden was in OKC. And maybe the answer is yes, and I'm misremembering, but did we really think Harden would bloom into an MVP player?
No. They would have traded if they did. They wouldn't have traded if they did.
Right. So. But their owner was cheap and didn't want to pay the luxury tax. They were forced to trade him. But he was around guys that took up so much oxygen. I think Jaylen Brown on his own team maybe is more of a 1, but we're splitting hairs here.
Okay. Next up. So these were solid guys, but never turned into stars. Wiggins actually averaged 24 points a game after his 3rd season, but it was on a terrible Minnesota team. Just felt like empty stats. Jabari Parker got hurt. DeAndre Ayton, RJ Barrett, Lonzo Ball. Are any of those guys significantly better now than we thought they were at year 3? If anything, Ayton's gone down. Barrett just got traded. Lonzo Ball can't stay healthy. Guys who were solid players. Wiggins had that stretch for Golden State that helped them win a title, but obviously not star-level players.
Yeah, I think Wiggins' career was helped by going to Golden State quite a bit, but that's fair. They were what they were. Frankly, those were all underachievers compared to what we thought they were going to be.
Next is kind of the underachievers. They were decent players, but that's really it. Otto Porter Jr., D'Angelo Russell, Markelle Fultz, Marvin Bagley Jr. Guys who, we have them fine, but you're not really winning anything with those 4. And then you have the bust by year 3. Anthony Bennett, Jahlil Okafor, James Wiseman. Scoot Henderson's been terrible this season, but it's way too early to call him a bust. He just doesn't fit anywhere else. So that leaves guys like Jaylen Brown and Evan Mobley, not Jaylen Brown, Jalen Green and Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham and Jabari Smith and Brandon Miller. They fall into the guys it's too early to tell category. But when I look at this big list here, Jason, you look at all those guys, especially the 11 guys who weren't stars by year 3. We're good, but not stars. It doesn't mean Evan Mobley can't turn into a star. It doesn't mean he develops at his own pace and by year 5, 6 can be that guy. But there's not a long track record in the last decade plus of the NBA of guys taking that significant leap after year 3 if they hadn't done it already. And I say that just to say we may have to change the context in which we look at Evan Mobley, where instead of being the guy, he's one of the guys.
And I can't argue that. I mean, you have a ton of data there to back that up. The reason why I think Evan might be the exception is because the only club missing out of his bag is the 3-point shot. And we talked about this on the show yesterday. It's like missing the driver. It's like not being able to hit driver off the tee in today's NBA. It's a big club that you're missing. But we've seen signs this year of it coming. And the shot he hit against Philly the other night is a prime example. Huge. No hesitation. Has the awareness, step back to the baseline, step back behind the line, shoot, catch and shoot, splash. That's what you need. If he develops that, he is now elevated to the other categories that we're talking about. So he's already there. I think he's already elite in other areas. It's that one that's missing, but we've seen signs this year, particularly second half of the season, of it coming. And so that's why I think he might buck the trend to what you've laid out, but there's no denying the evidence that you've laid out. For the most part, what you are by year 3 over the last decade is probably who you're going to be for better or worse. But I do think there's a chance that he bucks the trend on that.
And there are guys like Jaylen Brown by year 3 was averaging 14 points per game. He finished his year 3 season averaging 14 points per game. He's now a 25-point per game scorer in the NBA. Yeah. That's not to say you can't get better.
Right.
I think we all expect Evan Mobley to continue to develop and get better, just like he had from his rookie season to his sophomore season to this season. We hope he takes that next giant step at some point because adding that 3-point shot will unlock all the rest of his offense. He has the physical tools. His fluidness offensively and his decision-making, Jason, is what impressed me most. I just think looking back at the last 10 years, and I always say this, and I made the joke on Monday, is he a unicorn or is he just a really good racehorse without a horn? Because I think he might be a really good racehorse without a horn, especially if he can't develop that 3-point shot where he's a guy you want on your team. You could be a very good NBA team if Evan Mobley is one of your top couple players. But the idea that he could be the best player on a championship team, we may just have to adjust that expectation. And guess what? There's like 10 guys in the NBA each year that are capable of being the best guy on a championship team.
Yeah.
It's a very, very small, and 10 might be saying that may be way too big of a pool, Jason. It really may be 5 or 6. And that might even be casting too big of a net. So I don't say that as necessarily a giant knock on Evan Mobley. I just think those guys are so few and far between. They're so hard to come by. And the ones who are, like Wemby, for example, it doesn't really take them time to figure out their spot. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. When you play basketball, the ball finds the best players. Mm-hmm. It does. And that's my one big knock on Mobley. And you could blame the guards. He's a big, so he needs to be fed the ball. He's not bringing enough the court. You kind of know who needs the ball and when they need it. And it never feels like the Cavs make a conscious effort to feed Evan Mobley in the offense. Maybe there's numbers that disagree with that. I'm just telling you what my eye test sees and from watching and playing enough basketball, what my brain is telling me. They never feature Evan, and that may be an underlying message to this guy's a good offensive player. He's not a great offensive player. Our great offensive players need more touches. So I just think looking at the big picture, Evan's a good player, a guy you definitely want on your team, but I think we may have to start reevaluating our big picture outlook on what his true ceiling is. Is it sky high like Pluto, or is he in that really good all-star level range, but that ceiling is more Jupiter and Saturn?
Yeah. I do think that they need to make a more, I've said this for almost 2 years now. I wish that they'd make a more concerted effort to get him involved in the offense early.
Yeah.
And
like Kevin Love.
It's exactly it. When Kevin was playing with Kyrie and LeBron, he got the first touch every night, elbow touch. Everybody knew it was coming. It didn't matter. That doesn't matter. You're not trying to surprise anyone. You're trying to let him catch a rhythm early.
Yeah.
And you win the tip, whatever. Rebound, come to the other end. First play of the game, it's Evan wherever he wants it, wherever he's comfortable. If he
whatever he wants, whatever play he calls it for himself.
Wherever he wants it. Get him involved early. Donovan and Darius usually are they're going to get theirs. They can get theirs anytime they want. Get your big man activated early, And you make a valid point that the most talented guys find the ball finds them. But the point I made earlier is the Cavs sort of flipped this. Their biggest piece that we thought was their biggest piece, and Evan, came last prior to the Donovan trade.
Yeah.
When usually that piece comes first, like Zion, like Wemby. That's the first piece. Cade Cunningham in Detroit, although point guards, that's a whole different conversation. So that guy comes first. You build around that guy, but then by the time you got everything else built around him, his contract's running out. He's coming in extension years, and you've got like a 2 or 3 year window where you can really contend with that guy. And then he's going to force his way out and go to a different market or whatever. Where the Cavs dropped their most valuable piece in last, then made the Donovan trade. So the growth and development of Evan Mobley was never at the forefront of this whole thing. It was, we got to win.
I got to push back on that for 1 sec. Just look at Chet Holmgren, though.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's not even a knock on Mobley. It's just the best guys, the guys who are truly, truly, truly special and unique, they find a way. And Chet Holmgren is on a better team than Cleveland in his rookie season, by the way, because he didn't play all of last year. Now, he was in the system, and he's their third leading scorer. Jalen Williams, their second leading scorer, was a lottery pick last season who's jumped like 7 other guys in the rotation. He should win, in my opinion, most improved player. The guys who are special find a way.
Yeah, you're right.
And take all the other circumstances out. That basketball is a sport where age doesn't matter. That's why LeBron was able to dominate the league at 18, 19 years old playing against 30-year-olds. Age, it helps, but if you're special, it doesn't matter. No one's saying that Mobley's LeBron or of that caliber, but the special guys prove they're special right away. Yep. And you look at the trends, and once again, these could all be broken. I'm not saying Mobley can never get there. I'm just saying maybe the percentage I thought he could is a little lower than it was because he hasn't taken that step yet. And if he was as good as a Wemby, or like if Wemby was in Mobley's spot, they'd be getting Wemby the ball. Or Holmgren or Paolo Banchero. Like, obviously he wasn't available for draft, but you don't think the Cavs would adjust their off? Like, it is what it is in basketball. It happens in pickup too. A guy comes off the bench, you need an extra guy. Oh, damn, he's a great shooter. Guess who's getting the ball that next pickup game? The great shooter. So it is what it is.